There we go. So we record it so that those who are unable to make it to today's coaching call can go back and review as we go through. So thanks so much for coming today. We have a total of 8 folks that have RSVP'd. There's 17 of you actually going through the course right now, which is a great number. It's small, it's manageable, and it gives you the opportunity to do some peer-to-peer networking through the Facebook group if you so choose to do so. I know it's someone pointed out to me earlier today that there's been no activity in the Facebook group. And let me just say that the Facebook group is there for you. It's not something that I necessarily get in and stir the pot on, although I think I'll probably do that a little bit just to get some activity going. The whole purpose of the Facebook group and the value in it is that you can get together and share ideas and share learnings and with each other. And, because some things that may work in one part of the country may not necessarily work in another. So if you're able to get together and do some networking on that, and it also helps you hold each other accountable for the activities that you're doing and just overall keeping the fires, the flames going there. So let's see, let me get that one down there a little bit. And put that one down there a little bit. So excellent. Okay, so let's get going here. Maybe. So here's our agenda today. Excuse me. Welcome. First of all, welcome. I really appreciate you joining me today. This is for you. This is all about you. I've had an influx of questions this time around, which was fantastic because that shows me that you're going through the program, you're paying attention, you want to learn more, you want to extrapolate on some of the points that have been made, and so that's feels good to me. That means that you're getting some value out of the program, and I've had a lot of comments from folks that have said just that, how influential and valuable the program has been to them. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming. It's very important that you stay connected and stay active, and that's what part of this is all about. I think for the next time we do a private one, I'm going to try and set it up probably more as a meeting, that way that we can. It's more interactive than this is. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and go from here. We've all, I think everyone here is in the U.S. or Canada. I know we have a participant in New Zealand in this program. But the last couple days in the stock market has been a minor correction, I guess is a good way to say it. Even though we've had some of the biggest point drops, it really has not been, from an overall percentage standpoint, it hasn't been as bad as what most people look at it and think of. And the market is actually up a little bit today. The whole reason I'm bringing this up is because this course and this program is about selling to the fluent traveler. And affluent travelers tend to be heavily invested in the stock market, whether it be risky or some pretty safe investments that they have. I want to just point out one thing to you. Your clients are not panicked over this. So it's important that you not panic either. In the big picture, our 401ks, our stock portfolios, our overall investments are up, and they're going to continue to stay up. It would take a dramatic downturn in the market. I mean, I think we're still over 24,000 points in the Dow. So, don't panic. As I said, your customers aren't panicking. You shouldn't panic. They're going to keep making their plans just as they normally would. This is expected, something like this. We've been riding a wave for a while. We're not going to see a total meltdown like we did in 2008. That was all tied to the mortgage market. So we're not going to see that. We're going to see the usual bumps, and as the market gets higher, you're going to see bigger swings on a day-to-day basis. So we want to look at the overall picture. I want to thank you for your feedback. You're the first group that's gone through the new updated program that's been in the new system called Kajabi. I hope that you know, the delivery has been up to your standards and works for you, and how it's delivered and everything else about that, and your ability to access it. I think we're light years ahead of where we started a year ago with the old program, or a couple years ago with the old program. I really appreciate those of you who have caught some, you know, there's some things that weren't working. You know, I think there was a couple of videos, the video tutorials that were chopped off. And so I've had to go back and reload those things, or there's been some PDF downloads that were missing from some areas, and that's been brought to my attention. So keep doing that. You know, it only makes us bigger, better. It makes the program stronger. So if you find things that are missing or that are just flat out wrong, be sure and point those out to me so I can get them updated and make sure that the full videos are uploaded and all the PDF documents that are there to support everything that we've been teaching is there. You know, you guys have been great about that, pointing that out to me, and I really do appreciate that. So the Selling to the Fluent program, you know, you should be pretty much wrapping this up, and from what I can tell, most of you are. Some of you, you know, it's, even though it's released over the course of 8 weeks, you know, people learn at their own pace. So some folks are a little bit more behind than others. Some have finished it a week or so ago and moved on to the CAP plan, and that's that is great, because that gets you to the point that you're ready to really start implementing what you've learned and starting to build that segment out in your business as we go through that. So this has been you know, this is kind of like my baby when it comes to the programs and the teachings that I do, because this is what I specialize in. I specialize in doing two things. I specialize in selling to the fluent. You know, as you know, I had my own agency. I turned that around and focused it on upscale clientele, and, you know, not knowing anybody where we were that fit that profile, and literally built it out from scratch. And then, you know, another program, a newer program that I've introduced in the last 6 months or so is called Travel Agency Transformation, or it was formerly known as Sales Acceleration. That program is about taking where you are and to turning yourself into, you know, turning your travel agency around. So those are the areas that I specialize in. I don't do groups. I don't do everything else. You know, this is what I do. This is why you're here. And so, you know, we're going to concentrate on the programs that we do and helping you get moving forward. A number of you have reached out to me with questions, you know, outside of the scope of this, and that's okay. You know, I'm more interested in seeing your success than I am sticking necessarily to the topic at hand, because it's all going to come back and come together and work together to help you become more successful. Now, one of the things that has been introduced, and it was in Module 6, that has come to my attention, for a number of you pointed this out, and it's the dynamic prospecting. And you know, what is that? How does that work? You know, it was explained fairly well in the modules, but, you know, obviously this is an area that is so important to the success of the program that we're going to talk about that today. It will be a major part of what we discuss today. Okay, and then we're going to have the Q&A. I got some good questions that have come in, and we're going to move forward from there. So I hate using the word housekeeping, so I actually took it off the slide. But make sure you turn off any distractions you have. You know, turn off your phones, turn off email. You know, make sure you have your undivided attention here. Everyone is muted in this, so if you have a question, you should have a little place on there that you can, you know, raise your hand and ask to speak, and I'll unmute you. Or if you prefer, and it's probably faster, just type your questions in the Q&A box, and then we'll get to it and answer them as we go. Now, priority obviously is, yes, Leslie, you're in this group. Sorry about that. Priority, of course, is going to be the questions that were submitted in writing to me previously, because I've got those up on the slides and we'll talk about those. But if you have more as we come along, then we'll get to those going through there. So that's great. So what's next? All right, so I got an email today from, I subscribe to a number of coaches and gurus and stuff, in not just within the travel industry, but outside of it as well. And this came through in an email today, and it was, he's introduced it as being, this is something different than what he normally does, because he's normally trying to sell something in here, give some good advice and sell. But this was a little bit different, and I liked what it said, because it's so true about what we're going to talk about here in just a second. And that is the uncomfortable truth about success. That's the title of it. The bottom line is, making more is not about working more. It's not about working smarter. It's about doing the things that other people won't do. And the things that other people usually don't do is dynamic prospecting, or prospecting in general. And that's really the crux. That's what's really going to turn your business around and really take this segment, and the rest of your business for that matter. You're going to take, once you start prospecting, you're taking the proactive approach. You're not sitting back and waiting for business to come to you. You're going out and finding it. And that's really what makes all the difference. And that's why when we talk about successful salespeople, they prospect. That's what salespeople are. Marketers and advertisers are reactive. They put it out there and they wait for somebody. It's like fishing, they throw it out there and wait for somebody to bite. And then when it gets to them, you know what? What do you do then? Do you know how to sell? Who knows? And so hopefully, as part of this process, we've learned that as well, because it's not just about getting the prospect, it's selling the prospect and closing the prospect when they come in. So the question came in, and this is, most of you have done this, is, can you provide more detail about dynamic prospecting? Because it seems to be at the crux of what I'm advocating, but I'm still a little blurry on the details. Well, I've done a couple of things here. So I actually took a section out of Module 6, and we're going to talk about this particular lesson. We're going to go through. And then I've also taken a section out of my book, Get Your Ship Together, that talks about dynamic prospecting. And I've been told by a number of folks that it's probably the best description of how that works, okay? And because dynamic prospecting is using the strength of weak ties and getting to that second and third level, being able to understand what that's all about. It's key. It's key to doing that, but it's key to understanding it. But let me get back to what we talked about before. The real key to this is actually doing the things that other people aren't willing to do, because prospecting means you're picking up the phone and you're calling somebody that you may or may not know. You're sending them an email. I prefer that you call, because people are more likely to answer the phone. Emails are easy to dismiss. So we're going to go through all of this here real quick, and we'll jump into some questions here. And hopefully I didn't do this. You can't see it, but here's the PDF and I'm going to, when I send out the recording of this, I'm going to include the PDF as part of that package going out. So you'll have this section out of my book. Is the book great value? I think so. It goes on, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But this section is what folks tell me really kind of pulls it together for them, and it's because it's about a scenario that we all go through, and that's a dinner party. All right, why is this not going anywhere? Oh, here we go. Okay, so let's talk dynamic prospecting, pulled directly from the event. So we talked about who this is. This is I'm going to call this person Sandra. So this is Sandra, and Sandra's a travel agent, and Sandra's gotten into it, and she really wants to grow her upscale business, as a segment of the overall business strategy. She wants to grow that. And why? Well, we all know why. Because it's more profitable. You make more money doing less transactions. And that's kind of the key. That's a little bit of that working smarter part of it. But also now we're going to talk about doing the things most people don't. So Sandra is got a number of people that she's pretty close to. Now, in Module 6, you notice there was a PDF download of a worksheet for you to list all of the folks who are close to you. And at any given time in our lives, we have 20 to 25 people, for the most part, that are what we would call within our immediate circle of influence. And it changes over time. So the people that you grew up with were one group. The people you went to school with or college with or in your first jobs as your careers were starting, that's another group. When you're going into, where you are today, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be business associates. People that you interact with on a regular basis are considered to be your immediate circle of influence or your level 1 contacts. Now, they, of course, have their own. They have people that you may have met. You may have met them somewhere along the line. You may have met them at whether it's a barbecue once a year, a company type picnic type thing. We have a family that when I was growing up that I may have even said this in the video. It's been a while since I recorded, but we have family that we would have a holiday dinner with every year. Friends of my folks. I saw them once a year. That was it. And we went, and so that would be kind of right here for me would be that second level contact. Now, those people, of course, have their levels of contact, and it just grows exponentially from there. Everybody has those. Now, we talked about, in the program, we talked about, at all costs, avoid trying to sell to, your first level contacts here. And the reason is, they don't want to jeopardize a relationship with you by having a business relationship. We've all had this, and if you haven't, it will happen, where you've got people that are close to you that are going to reach out to you, and they're going to say, oh, you're a travel agent, you're a travel professional. Can you recommend a hotel or how we do Disney? And you take the time and you get excited about it because you got a live one there. And you say, okay, here, I've got all this. You put an itinerary together for them, and you show it to them, and you talk to them on the phone multiple times, and then you don't hear from them. Now, if you're a good travel professional, you're going to follow up, and you're going to be doing something that probably more than half of the travel professionals do not do. They may follow up once. Only about 60% may follow up twice, and after that, it goes nowhere. So you got to follow up, and you follow up with them and say, hey, what do you think about this? Where you want to go? When do you want to go? You want to get it set up, and they're going to go, they're going to try and avoid you at all costs at that point, because they've either done one of two things. They've either let it drop off their plate, which it could happen. Or more realistically, they have booked with a travel agency down the street or somebody they found on the internet or Costco or whatever. And the reason is that, because they're close to you and they've got a personal relationship with you, they don't want to jeopardize that relationship. They don't want to risk losing your friendship over a business transaction. If something were to go wrong and you screw it up, or they think you screwed it up, well, that kind of puts a wedge in between you and them. So they don't like to do that. So psychologically, it's more comfortable for them. They feel safer by booking it with someone that they don't really know. Now, this first group, this is what we would call your strong tie. These are people that you interact with once a month, or more. The folks here at the second level and the third level, you may not even know them. But at the second level, these are folks you might see once or twice a year. They're more acquaintances. Okay, these are people that they may know who you are, but they don't know you. Okay, and so when we're talking about this, getting to, and don't worry about those folks that just came up, because as you get down to that level, they're not going to be, they drop off. The percentage of them booking with you are going to drop off exponentially. But these are the guys we want to get to. We want to make it a point of getting to that second and third level. The second and third level is the people that you don't hardly know, and they may be acquaintances, they may be people you don't know at all, and those are the ones who are going to be more comfortable doing business with you. Now, how do you get there? Well, this is the key. So we talked about 10 to 15% of your sales are going to come from your immediate circle of influence. These are people that they're just trying to support you. Okay. What you want to do is try to get to that second and third level. And so how do you do that? Well, the other 90 to 85% of the people who aren't buying from you from your circle of influence are kind of putting up this. You know, that they think you're trying to sell them something, so they want to avoid you. They don't want to help. But the key here is asking them to help you out, going to them and asking them for an introduction to their friends, their immediate circle of influence that's a little bit further down the road. Let me just briefly tell you how this works at a dinner party scenario, for instance. Let's say you go to dinner and we're all there and Sandra's there. I'm hosting the dinner party and all of you know me, okay? And there's about 6 other people there that you don't know. Well, Sandra's sitting next door to Nate, and Nate's somebody she may have met once or twice over the years, but she doesn't really know him. And she's talking to Nate, and Nate's saying, hey, yeah, we just got back from a great vacation, and we loved going to Disney. We stayed at the Grand Floridian, blah blah blah, and had a fantastic time. And you then talk to Nate and say, hey, who do you know? You had such a great time. Who do you know so who else do you know that might be interested in going to Disney World? Well, we have a lot of friends and they've got kids and they all love to go to Disney World. And then you ask specifically, well, do you mind giving me their information or providing me with their information, and I can reach out to them on your behalf and let them know that you recommended that I contact them about going to Disney. That's kind of how it works in a nutshell. You're getting to that 3rd level. So you're going from, where Nate would be a candidate because he's sitting at the table and you barely know him, he would be one candidate, but he just got back. He doesn't need your services immediately. So you're asking for a recommendation of people he knows going out. Now you do the same thing of your existing clientele. Now, whether they're affluent customers or not, you can still use them because everybody has their own group of people that are around them. Think about it. You may just do mass market stuff right now and you think, I don't have any customers. Well, believe it or not, you're probably selling product to doctors, to lawyers, to successful business people, and they all have, people tend to network amongst their peer group, so they're going to know people, and they're going to associate with people who are like-minded and like them and like to travel to similar places. So your goal is to get to this area where you're going to have 65 to 70% of the customers are going to come from that block. Does this make sense? Type yes or no, or comment here in the Q&A here. I want to make sure that I'm making sense here. Let's see, let me open that up. Sort of. Okay. Sort of making sense. Okay. Let's see. Tell me what you mean by sort of. And I won't identify who it is, but just kind of let me know. Because the key, as I said, the key is to getting to those people, and you have to ask, though. They're not going to just volunteer it. So you may get 1 out of 100 that's going to recommend you to their friends or family, but odds are pretty good they're not. So you have to proactively ask. This is part of selling. This is the prospecting part. So you talk to them. Makes sense, but okay, we'll talk about that later. So you want to work on getting to those folks, okay? And all you got to do is ask. What is the worst thing that can happen if you ask someone that you're close to, who do you know that would benefit from my services? No one. Do you know anybody who would benefit from my services? No. That's the worst thing that can happen, is somebody can say no. We reach out. Yes. Okay. Yes. That's what you're doing. So here's the key, and this is really why this works to a large degree. And I use this a lot when I use the story about when I sold books door to door from my rejection story. But here's how we established credibility going door to door was, hey, I was just you knock on a door and you say, hi, I'm Dan. I'm the one talking to all the families in the neighborhood with preschool, school-age kids, blah, blah, blah. I just want to talk to you. I was just talking with Sandra and Bob and Jim and Leslie and Paige and all these other people, and they recommended that I stop by and talk to you. You have a few minutes. Boom, there you go. That gives you the credibility, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that introduction, because think about this. If someone in your immediate circle refers someone to you, odds are pretty good that, because they're putting themselves on the line for this. They're recommending you to someone. So odds are pretty good, one, they're going to be qualified, two, that they're probably going to be pretty decent folks. And the beauty of being at that first level is, when you're doing this, is you're not asking them to buy anything. Okay. And when you're not asking, that's why it goes up like this. If you're trying to sell them something, they want to stay away. They don't want to get near you. But if you're asking for help, and that's what we're doing here, we're asking for help. People love to help other people. You think about this. If you were out looking for a job and you wanted to talk to the president of the company you want to work for, and you reach out to them, not asking them for a job, but saying, hey, I'm thinking about getting into this field. I know I've researched your company. I'd love to. I know you don't have a job for me. I'm not expecting one, but I'd love to sit down and pick your brain for about 15 minutes. Boom. Do you think you're going to get a phone call back, or you're going to get an appointment? The odds there are pretty good, because actually the higher you go on the ladder, the nicer they tend to be. Their wives or their significant others might not be, but typically the person who's the breadwinner usually is. And they like to help, and they're happy to refer. If they like what they see, they're gonna be more than happy to refer you out to someone. So now, does that all make sense? Yes or no? Anybody still out there? Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. Okay, excellent. Okay, now that we've got that all together, it's important that we do this, because it's this is crucial in executing the strategies. It's one thing to know who they are. It's another thing to know where they want to go and what they're interested in, all that. But if you can't find qualified prospects, all that doesn't really matter. And once you get the prospect in, then you've got to do build on that relationship, okay, and build your trust, and build with using your expertise and points of contact to come in there. I mentioned the follow-up part earlier. A good salesperson is going to follow up 5, 6, 7 times if necessary. If someone, you've been given a name and you said, hey, hi, Jim, a mutual friend of ours, Jane, we were talking about going to Disney World. She suggested I reach out and talk to you, because you and your family are Disney travelers and you'd be interested to talk to me. And he ignores you, or ignores you, and they'll ignore you once, they'll ignore you twice, they'll keep ignoring you. Well, don't stop. You've got a mutual friend. A lot of it's timing. A lot of times it does, people don't want to necessarily talk to you right then, right there, because it's not their priority right now. It's yours. So keep following up. Okay, keep following up. Now, after maybe 8 or 10 times, you can say, hey, I realize you're busy, and maybe something that you're not necessarily interested in. I just want to make sure that you're aware of the great deals and things that I can do for you. This is I'm not going to reach out to you from here on out. This is my final contact with you. I'll put you on the mailing list, blah, blah, blah. You'd be surprised when you actually get to that point where you draw on the line in the sand. You'd be surprised at how many people will then actually return your call, or pick up the phone, or they'll answer your email, because you've stopped. Okay, I'm going to stop, and now all of a sudden they're like, uh-oh, I'm going to miss out. Boom, we're going to jump back over. Now, is that going to happen all the time? No. It may happen, 3 out of 10 times. That's 30%. That's pretty good. So don't give up. When you get a referral from someone. Now, let me back this up. The only time I think I would give up is if you determine that they're not part of your ideal customer. They're not someone that you want to do business with. I'll give you an example. You know, a lot of folks that, oh, airline pilots, you know, they got free air so they can get somewhere and they can, you know, and you've been referred to them to do Disney. Well, let me tell you, those are some of the worst people to try and track down. The reason is most suppliers in the travel business have what they call interline rates. And interline rates are things you can't really touch, but they're offered to airline employees. Unfortunately, it's not a reciprocal relationship, but they can buy basically at friends and family rates, or you know, you can't touch those rates typically. So, you know, that's what they're gonna compare you against is interline rates. So that's the one area where I would say, you know what, this is somewhat, and I don't care what level they necessarily are, whether, you know, they may be going for a 20-day South American cruise, or they may be, you know, your 3-day carnival kind of folks. These are people that they have access and are used to paying next to nothing for their trips. So I would say they're not really worth wasting your time. The Costco people, on the other hand, those are your customers. Those are the ones that you want because they fit, you know, the average Costco customer makes $100 grand a year. They travel a lot. They're in their mid-50s. They're ideal. That's exactly who we want. So if you get a referral to them and they shop you to Costco, well, you know what? You can typically, through your host agency, your consortia, and the value that you bring to the equation, you can either meet or exceed the value that they get by going through Costco. So I'm not worried about that scenario there, but just the ones that you probably don't want to pursue too much are airline employees. Okay. All makes sense. Let's keep going here. When making follow-up calls, you recommend leaving a message each time? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, do you feel like being a pest? Yeah, you feel like you're being a pest. Okay. And that's okay, you know, but that's part of it. You got to get over that, because the follow-up, you know, is really where the sales come from. Because part of what you're doing is follow-up is actually establishing rapport, whether it's through emails or through voicemails or whatever. You know, you have a nice, pleasant, cheerful voice. You sound like somebody that you want to do business with. You know, you're not begging. You know, if you start begging, well, heck, you know, people don't, you know, they'll shut you down in a heartbeat. So, you know, always try to leave a message. I would actually take a two-prong approach. I would do a voicemail, and I would do email. As I said, email is easy to ignore, but voicemail is a little bit tougher. You know, when you're leaving a voicemail, you want to make sure that you are quick. You've repeated your who you are 3 times and your phone number 3 times, and why you called, and always mention the person who referred you, because eventually, you know, they may come on and say, you know what, we're really not interested, and they'll file you away and may use you down the line. Or it may be, well, thanks for keeping up with me, because I've got so much other stuff going on. It hasn't been I've been meaning to get back to you. You're going to hear that a lot, because that's where people are busy and life gets in the way. And, you know, what's a priority for you right now to get in touch with them may not necessarily be a priority on their end. So by maintaining that contact, developing that rapport and that relationship, and it may seem like it's only one-sided at this time, it will eventually get there. Now, after 10 or 12 times, 8, 10, 12 times, you decide, but I would do no less than 8. You decide that you want to leave that, you know what, hey, I don't want to keep bothering you. This will be the last time I'm going to reach out to you. The deals I've been looking at for you are all expire next week. So, you know, if you're interested, please get back to me. Otherwise, I'm just going to put you on the mailing list, and unless you have an objection to that. Boom, there you go. Okay, and then the follow-up comes from there, from them, and then you start going through the mail process and back into the report process. Okay, I'm just going through questions here real quick. When you say keep trying, do you mean call every time? Yeah, I prefer that you call. You know, particularly if someone's reached out to you, or you've gotten to the point where you've given them a quote, absolutely, you follow up until you get a hard no out of them. Okay, absolutely, you want to keep doing that. I find it hard to track follow-ups. There has to be a system. Most of you, and I believe this person is part of cruise planners, and I know that actually there's a number of folks participating that are in cruise planners. Your CRM system, I believe, should track that for you. In fact, most CRM systems do have in your calendar feature, you should be able to track through there or through the customer profile. But that's one that I would take back to cruise planners. If you're part of another organization that provides your CRM for you, you want to ask them, how do you track your follow-ups? It's not simply doing a calendar event. Most people, when you go into the customer profile or prospect profile, and that's the biggest challenge first, is once you have a solid lead, you want to make sure you get it in the system so you can track it. That's where a lot of people drop the ball. They don't even do that until somebody books with them. But that way you're able to track when and how, and you can schedule it. You should have a schedule of reaching out every 3 to 4 days to people, because that you're not being a pest. If you're doing it every 3 to 5 days or so, do that for a few weeks, and you're building that rapport, you're getting that relationship going, and that's important. That's important. That's why your typical advertisements, when you throw an ad in the newspaper that says sandals for $12.99 on this date, well, what you're going to get is somebody who wants to pay that amount of money on that date, and that's pretty much it. So you don't have a relationship with those people, and those are the people that are just gonna, even if they do buy the price, there's no loyalty there because you don't have a relationship. So you want to start establishing your credibility and build that relationship through your marketing and through your follow-ups that you have coming through there. It's key. I can't emphasize enough how much follow-up takes place. But your key, first of all, is get to that second and third level. And the best way to do that is, if you've got your immediate circle of influence, but you also have customers who are happy with you, okay? And at one point, those were people that you probably didn't know at some point, and they've moved up, from the second level to the first level, or maybe they are still in that second level because they're customers. The best source of getting to that second and third is reaching out to your existing clientele, whether those folks are, your 3-day carnivals or your 24-day, South African people. It doesn't matter. Those are people who are happy with you. And it provides two things. One, it provides you the opportunity to what we call retention, the retention marketing of it. And actually, it's part of the travel agency transformation. And Richard Earls actually just wrote a really good piece on that in Travel Research Online today. Retention is key. You've spent a bunch of money up front to acquire that customer, so you want to keep them. Okay, they're also the ones that you want to use the most, and your biggest fans, to get to people that trust them. Okay, because remember, people run in the same peer groups for the most part. So if you've got a college professor, odds are pretty good that they socialize with other educators, business executives, similar type thing. So you want to make sure that you get in with your existing clientele. And as I said, I don't care what they bought. You can gradually move up through there, because just because somebody bought something cheap doesn't necessarily, as you learn more about them, hey, you know what? You find they're more qualified actually to do something else, and fit them within your ideal customer range. Okay. I'm getting good feedback here. Looks like it's starting to make a lot more sense to people. I can't emphasize enough, though, how important it is to get right here. Got to get there. Those are the folks that are going to be more likely to do business with you. And, back to that quote, doing things that other people aren't willing to do. Most people in this business, they think marketing and sales are the same thing. So they do their marketing when their marketing is really just advertising. But as a salesperson, and that's what this is all about, is selling, is you get proactive. You take responsibility. You take ownership of your business, and you're responsible for how it grows. And this is how you can make it grow exponentially, by working through this area. Now, I have had, one of the questions was, well, what if I don't even have any customers? Well, you know what? You have a group of friends. You have people that you do business with right now. You may want to place an advertisement that a small advertisement with a high price point, high product and price point somewhere in your local area, and start gathering leads off of that. And then once you've got those leads, anytime you get a lead and someone's reached out to you, even if they don't buy, it's an opportunity for you to ask for the referral. And that's all this dynamic prospecting is asking for a referral. And it's not a cold call. It's a warm call because someone close to you has given you their names, and it's someone that you both trust in most cases. That's what makes this so successful. And those that actually get in there and do it, you'll once it clicks, and you have the courage to pick up the phone every day and start calling people and making prospecting part of your regular routine, you're going to see your sales skyrocket. Okay, let's move on to the, what did I do here? Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so building your personal network. I kind of alluded on some of this. It pays to be a joiner. Find a core group of influencers, because people buy, they socialize with similar people. So if you got social clubs, charities, supporting the arts is great, because and food and wine events, people who take food and wine seriously tend to have a little bit of money there. Athletic events, college supporters and things like that. But join something that's of interest to you. You want to make sure you're not just joining some social group or some charity organization only because you think that it's going to be a good place for leads. People will see through that in a heartbeat. They know why you're there. They've been dealing with that forever. This is something that's going to take you some time. You want to get in, become known, become respected, building your relationships, building your rapport within the organization, and then, you can start throwing it out there what you do. Okay, and then also you would then ask people for the referrals. You're not trying to sell them. You're asking for the referrals, okay, from someone that you know and trust through the organization. Who do you know that might be interested in what I have to offer? That's how you do that. So resist the temptation to sell to those folks and to those in your immediate circle, because most of your sales are going to come from that second and third level. Okay, make sense? Excellence. This is key. People buy from people they like. Let them like you. Okay, be happy, be funny, be honest. Be straightforward. If you don't think something, you're talking to them and you think something based on what you know about somebody is not the right fit, don't be afraid to tell them. Because that's why they're dealing with you. You're the expert, and they'll respect you for that. But be likable. Don't be a grouch. We all make a decision every day, how we are in the morning. Get up, smile, say it's a great day, no matter how you feel, and it'll come through with the people that you're dealing with there. Okay, so we talked about the questions. These are lifted right out of the module. Would you take a look at my website and see where someone in my background best fits into the marketplace? I wonder if you could give me the names of one or two people who would, and make sure you pause there. Make sure you pause, because that gives them a minute, a few seconds to think about it, okay, who would be interested in the offer. Same thing here. Not asking you to buy anything, but who do you know who would benefit from my service, or who would like to go to Disney, or would like to take this cruise, or go on an African safari, blah, 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 and pause, okay? Give them the opportunity to respond. Okay, questions. Let me jump into this real quick because we got about 15 minutes. And I want to make sure that everybody's clear on what dynamic prospecting is all about, how to use it, and more than anything else, don't be afraid. You've got to get out there and do what other people are doing to make this happen. So what's in your book? We didn't get that in the 8-week course, and I know you want to sell more copies of it, but would it be beneficial? The book is, and I type some of this out. The book's a good complement to the course. It covers SHIP, skills, habits, inspiration, planning, performance. It covers the business of the travel business. What types of business models work best, how to deal with your BDMs, co-op marketing funds, how to deal with the competition, and general travel sales. It's not just focused on higher end sales, although there's a lot of emphasis on that because that's my specialty, but that's all in there. So, is it a good book for you? Yeah, I think so. It certainly would benefit you. It will certainly complement what you know. I know there's one lady in the program that signed. I spoke at a conference that they had, and they gave away the book as part of what me being there, and she read it on the flight home and signed up the next day for the program. So there's a lot of value in it from there, and it's written as a manual. It's written for you to write in the pages. It's written for you to do all that. So it's probably one of the best-selling books in our genre within the travel industry, because it's sold well over 1,000 copies just on Amazon alone, and the response has been very positive to it. What's up with the Facebook page? Well, we talked about that. It's peer-to-peer interaction. So, it's up to you guys to get active and stimulate. So if you make a comment, you ask a question, anybody that's a member is going to get notified of that. So then that generates the activity. So I'm going to put a couple things up there in the next week or so to kind of light a fire under folks and get you active in there. Because the more active you are with the program, the better off you're going to be, and the better off newer people coming through the program, because that's what it's here for. It's for you guys. It's not just something to put on the the laundry list of what you get. It's a benefit. Use it and make it happen for yourselves. All right, next set of questions. So when offering incentive for a group cruise, as I said, I'm going outside the scope of some of this stuff. Offering an incentive to a Pied Piper, do you offer a percentage of the markup or a fixed amount per cabin or upgrade? There's no real right or wrong answer. Typically, they get a free cabin or a free hotel room, or free trip basically, and you should always put a minimum number of folks that have to participate. Okay, if they don't hit that mark, maybe you don't give it to them. Okay, or you can agree that you've got a base and you got a markup on it. You're going to split the mark once they have hit a certain threshold to basically pay for their free cabin you're giving them. Then you can split the markup over and above that. Okay, because you've built that in when you're doing extra stuff, cocktail parties and wine tours and stuff like that. You've added on to that to cover that cost plus profit for yourself. So you should then have some sort of incentive for them there to mark it off. What's a good strategy to partner up with financial advisors? They know a lot of affluent clients. Seems like a great fit, but how do I answer what's in it for me? Aren't they too rich to fall in for my referral fees? Can I do a vacation seminar event and have them invite his clients for? Absolutely. A lot of times financial advisors look at you as a value add benefit. They don't necessarily want something out of it. They may want a free trip, but for the most part, if they're doing a seminar, you're part of the draw, because they're showing their clients how to take their financial resources that are growing and use them on their vacation. You see this in commercials, where the financial advisors are putting their packages, their whole retirement package together so people can travel more. Okay, that's what you want to do. Just reach out to them and say, hey, we have similar type of clientele. Now they're going to want some reciprocity. I can't even say the word. Anyway, they're going to want some some tit for tat or whatever you want to call it there at some point. And you may not have them now, but you're going to have them. So you want to find one that'll work with you. Okay, and just talk to them. What's the worst they can say? No. That's it. Okay. If this is relevant, have you systemized your sales procedures? For example, do you send a get ready campaign letter after a certain point when deposit is made? Can you elaborate? I think this has to do with points of contact after you've made the sale. You should have, in my opinion, once you have a deposit, there should be at least 6 points of contact, because you're building that relationship. And too many people take the deposit, they take the final payment, and then give them their tickets at whatever point, okay? And they're done. And that's why people leave businesses, is because they don't think you care about them. You just want their money. But if you come up with reasons to contact them, it may be for dining preferences, it may be selling them shore excursions through shore trips, whether they're on a land or a cruise vacation. You know, this is ancillary revenue for you. I'm a big proponent of that, and Shore Trips does a great job. So you can put points of contact throughout there, you know, where you're helping them. Look at, if you've ever taken a flight recently, the airlines are starting to do more of this. As you get closer to the flight, they're offering you hotels. Do you have a car? Do you need insurance? Things like that, you know, to get you ready to go there. And then once you get back, that's when they get back, that's where we drop into what we call the retention strategy. That's part of the overall transformation program that you can use to keep the client, because 70% of them are going to leave you. So you've got a lot invested in them, so you want to make sure that you do what you can to keep them. Okay. Let me reach up here and check the questions here real quick. What's the name of the Facebook group? Wealthy Travel Agent Academy. You'll find two. You should, when you do that, you should find one that's a closed group and one that's a public group. Join them both. Join them both. I'll approve the for the private group. For the closed group, I approve those. But join them both. Okay. Let's see. I'm old school marketing. Used to purchase lists. Does that work? You heard me mention that in one of the modules. I think I mentioned that because I did it at one time. Do they work? No, not really. Not in this day and age. You don't have a relationship with them. The clients that I currently have, I cannot solicit, or they are not my ideal client. As of right now, I don't have clients that fit who I want. I'm considering buying a list from Golf Magazine and go from there. That's up to you. You know, if you're going to buy a list of any kind, make sure it's a multi-use list, you know, so it's not just a one and done, because you're going to need to develop relationships with these people, let them know who you are. I think you might be better off doing targeted Facebook ads, which is not my area of expertise, but I do know someone that I'm doing a co-op program with this spring. Her name's Catherine Heeg, H-E-E-G, who that's her specialty is social media and social media marketing. So reach out to her, tell her I said, hey, you know, Dan said reach out to you about this. It might, you know, she's got some good insight on that. But as far as buying a list, I don't think that's the best investment. I'm extremely shy. I consider to be a good listener, so please, the clients. So please, okay, that's great. You know, it's great. You listen. Most people don't listen. Fear of presentation, no. Freeze when I have a cold call to solicit their business. Okay, so here's what you do with that. You don't do a cold call. You make it a warm call. So you know, if you're in the golfing community, you're going to know people who are members of different clubs. So use the strength of weak ties. Use the dynamic prospecting to ask members of different clubs that you already know for referral to the golf pro or to the clubhouse, to the club manager. That's just turn it into a warm call and make it a conversation. Okay, but then have a communication strategy, because you're going to need a follow-up. You're going to need to contact them more than once. You're going to have to contact them a number of times to get there. Okay, we're getting close on time here. That's it for the questions. I want to thank you. Thank you for participating in this program. It's because of you it keeps getting better. I already said, you know, you found things that need improvement on, point them out to me, we'll fix it. You know, participate. You know, get on the Facebook group, get to know each other, hold each other accountable. It's so important that you stay on top of it. You don't want this to be a one and done thing. The CAP plan, which was my original thing I was going to go over today, you know, that's your action plan. In a nutshell, just fill it out using the answers you gave in all of the previous modules, because that's kind of where it builds to. Use those and build those into the CAP plan template, and use those and take those annual plans, break them down into quarterly and monthly, and use those action plans. Business plans get shoved in a drawer up on a shelf. Strategic plans, which is what this is, it's the how. It's the how you're going to do this, and this, which is an action plan. And action plans you keep right in front of you. Mine, you can't see it, but it's up on the wall behind me here. You know, we want to have them in front of you where you're looking at them every single day to remind you of what you have to do. You know, whether it's the prospecting, dynamic prospect, reaching out, say, I have to make 5 phone calls today to my immediate circle of influence of people to ask for referrals, okay? Or I need to call my clients today, however many it is. You know, if you got 10 clients, do 1 a day, or do 10 a day, just whatever it is. You know, make sure you have that action plan going, because the activity is going to breed sales. Okay, if you're doing the right things over and over and over and over again, the end result is going to be what you're looking for. It's a repeatable result, something that's going to continue to happen. Okay, but you know, keep doing it and use the system. You got to use a system. That's why franchising works. You know, franchising is not for entrepreneurs. Franchising is for people who will follow the system. Okay, that's why McDonald's does well. They don't want somebody who wants to invent a hamburger, new version of a hamburger. They want somebody who's going to follow their system. Well, that's why they're successful. And you have a system now. Use it, follow it, work it, and it'll work for you. Now, if you've been really happy with the program and me and everything about it, I would really appreciate it. And you know, many of you have done this already, but please leave a testimonial. You know, it helps validate the program for people coming up for future participants. It helps me, you know, to make sure that I know that I'm doing things right and doing things that are still of benefit to you. So if you haven't done so already, please leave a testimonial. You can send me send me an email directly if you'd like. You can put them in the comments at the end of Module 8, which is the CAP plan, or you can post them to the public Facebook page or to my Facebook page in general as well. Okay. I like to get them out there publicly where people can see them, because in particular, my Facebook page, I have probably 4,000 travel professionals that I'm friends with on there. So it helps validate the programs and what I do. If you feel like it's a good value to you and it's going to work for you, you know, please help me out here and leave a testimonial that'll help folks to, you know, make a decision that'll better themselves coming through in the future. So put them in the comments, put them on Facebook pages, or email directly. I cannot express my gratitude enough for this, because you've been a wonderful class coming through here. Now, the next Power Hour is going to be sometime in March, probably first, second week of March. I'll have to look at my schedule because I start traveling a bit here. But the next one is actually going to be open to pretty much anybody who wants to participate. I do this a couple times a year. Once or twice, you know, about once a quarter, I'll open it up. Anybody who wants to come from the Facebook groups or from you know, folks that have participated in any of the programs before, get everybody together. I get lots of different kinds of questions in here that are you know, totally off the subject sometimes, but it works out. So with that, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please don't just take what you've learned and sit on it. Take action on it. Do the things that other people aren't willing to do. Be proactive, you know, go prospecting and get out there and you know, put it into practice and make some money. Develop that segment for your business. You won't regret it. It's, you know, fewer transactions, much larger commissions, and you will find that you will have a lot more time and a lot more money to do the things that you really want to do. Thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. You're going to receive the recording in an email probably later today or tomorrow, along with the PDF copy of the dynamic systems using the example that I used, which is the dinner party scenario. So if you have any questions, please give me an email at dan@danchappelle.com. But with that, thank you from the bottom of my heart again. I really appreciate your participation, and have a great day. Now let's go make some money.